Hey everybody, TacticAngel here, back on the PlayStation 4 to take a quick look at a premium ship in World of Warships Legends. This one is going to be the Tier 2 Russian destroyer Storozhevoi. So we won't really have any history to talk about here. As you can see from the overview screen, this is, at best, a design that was never built, and my ability to run down any meaningful information on Russian ships designed more than a century ago, while definitely not speaking the language, is, well, not very good. So we'll jump right into analysis with this one, and I'll just say this. This is a Tier 2 premium ship that, at least as of the time of this recording, PlayStation Plus members can get for free from the PlayStation Store, and it is my understanding that Xbox users have a similar deal that has been going on for a while now. As far as whether she's worth it, if you can pick her up for free, it's not really a hard recommendation, and it does come with a whole bunch of goodies that are arguably more useful than the ship. If you have to pay money for a Tier 2 premium ship, then I can't imagine that you'd want to do it for more than one of them, and the sensible reason for that is that you might just want one Tier 2 premium ship, because most weeks you can get an additional promotion order from the weekly missions. For people in that position though, I'd strongly suggest looking at the Bureau, because the Campbelltown can be earned in the introductory project there, and that ship is not considerably more or less unexciting than this one. Aside from that, all of these Tier 2 premium ships have one thing in common. They're all pretty much similar to another ship at Tier 2, just a bit worse. And the reason they're a bit worse is for purely environmental reasons, I suspect. But if seal clubbing is your thing, you're always going to be a little bit better off with the Tech Tree ship, and the Storozhevoi is no different here. In a lot of ways, her capabilities are similar to the Dirtsky, but really the Dirtsky is still pretty obviously a better ship when all the way leveled up. So not to dress this up too much, the Storozhevoi is a ship that can play a lot like other Russian destroyers, and where the Dirtsky is a really strange boat, certainly not good, but not completely terrible either, this boat is kind of the same idea, just a bit worse. And as we jump straight into stats, naturally, since I've already been talking about this ship versus the Dirtsky, I'll touch mostly on those two ships. When looking at survivability, the Storozhevoi has just 7,800 hit points, which is very, very low, less than any Tech Tree destroyer in the game, about 20% less HP than you'll find on the Dirtsky. Though your minimum armor value is a little bit better, any guns larger than 85mm will punch straight through automatically, and while this might not be every ship in the game, it's pretty close. So Storozhevoi is a very delicate flower. Your artillery arrangement is very similar to the Dirtsky though, as you sport 3 102mm mounts. The damage these guns do, the reload, and turret traverse are all the same, though you do have a half a kilometer less range, for whatever reason, in the Storozhevoi. Overall, these guns do live up to being relatively punchy for destroyers, and also, like other Russian boats, they rotate so slowly that you'll be at pretty much a disadvantage if you want to take this up against any other destroyer at Tier 2 or 3. When we come to torpedoes, you're looking at 3x3 450mm torpedoes, and these are very similar to the torpedoes that you would find on the unupgraded Dirtsky. You only have 9 as opposed to 10 though. Of course, the Dirtsky, when upgraded, gets 10% better range, which still makes them fairly short-range weapons, 33% better reload, and the only area where the Storozhevoi actually does beat out the Dirtsky here is an extra 250 damage per torpedo, so not so much, and 2 knots on the torpedo speed, which is arguably not even really an advantage in these particular ships, but a little more on that later. Anyway, moving into maneuverability, this is where you could say that the Storozhevoi shines, because at 35 knots, she does have a speed advantage over the Dirtsky by about 1 knot, and it actually puts her top speed above average for her tier. But again, not by much. She does also have a pretty decent turning circle and rudder shift, both of which can get you in trouble, and sometimes out of it, because of your extremely slow rotating turrets. And then finally, when we come to concealment, while Russian destroyers tend to be a bit more visible than any other destroyers at any given tier, the Storozhevoi does have a slight concealment advantage versus the Dirtsky of 100 meters. All the other stats that you see here are going to be the same as what you're going to find on the Russian tech tree destroyer. And last but not least, the Storozhevoi has some consumables. Unsurprisingly, they are an engine boost and a smokescreen. While the engine boost here is exactly standard and exactly what you'll find on the Dirtsky, for whatever reason, you're looking at a slightly weaker smokescreen, lasting 4 seconds less than the Dirtsky, which is too bad, but probably not the end of the world. Alright, so as we jump into our battle, I'm going to be on ring. Here you can see the Storozhevoi. I'm going to go ahead, get my commander up on the screen real quick. I'm using Anton Gurin. I'm just going to go over a couple of things that you can see here on my build. I didn't really have a commander section for this because I don't honestly think it matters all that much. One thing I will note is I'm not entirely convinced that speeding up your torpedoes in these sorts of ships helps, because I was specifically seeing if I could still stealth launch these backwards at somebody charging me. I think the answer is probably not. Other than this, you probably do just want to do something about your fire chance, do something about your survivability, and keep your engine moving. And both Trubetskoy and Anton Gurin can do that just perfectly fine, even Von Essen. It's just a question of how you get there, and all three of the guys can do it in slightly different ways. So anyway, we are sailing up into A. You can see I'm looking out at that Yoizano. I'm hoping that he might sail into these torpedoes. We'll just see if he wants to do that. Clearly, he immediately starts maneuvering wildly, so that's not going to help. We are going to go ahead, pop our smoke, and start taking some shots. Also, one of the things that most of the commanders can do is offer you a little bit of benefit in terms of using your AP. The AP can be pretty decent on these Russian ships. But, you know, also they're such small caliber guns that you really will bounce a lot of shots. Now we're trying to get a feel for where this Yoizano is going. And at this point we're in a pretty bad position. We're launching wide spreads because while he's broadside like that, he shouldn't be able to dodge them. As you can see, we do manage to land a torpedo. And here you can see these guns do a pretty good job dealing with cruisers, at least as long as you're nice and close to them. A lot closer than you probably want to be. This is another case where I don't want this Wix following me. I don't really want to get in a gun battle with him because his turrets traverse, well, they're not super fast, but they're a lot faster than mine. So I'm going to go ahead and, you know, kind of move off here, hope that he finds some things that are a little bit better to do. He does want a piece of this action, so I'm going to return fire. There you can see some poorly aimed shots. These look a little bit better, but okay. And as you can see, we're not being crazy effective at this range. One nice thing about the Storozhevoi is that forward gun turret does rotate 360 degrees. That is a small consolation prize, but in any case, it is a little bit of an advantage, particularly when you're moving away from folks. But as you can see, the rear two turrets don't, so don't count on that being like wildly effective. In any case, it looks like the Dirtsky is out of the game for right now, and I am going to sail into A with the hopes of maybe getting some capture points. Obviously, you can see our team has taken the lead, thanks in small part to our contribution. We did get that Yuizano out of here pretty quickly, and we've managed to do 17,000 damage. Not too terribly bad, considering I only load into the game with 7,800. One of the other things I could say about build is, if you increase your fire chance, it's always a good idea in these ships. They tend to have pretty low fire chances, so you can be a little bit more annoying if you do want to do something to increase that. If I wanted to do it with Anton Goering, I would do it with dropping the torpedo speed, taking my damage reduction, and keeping my engine and rudder working with quick fix, and then take Rather-Be Torching. Not maybe the best way of doing it. Trubetskoy probably can do a little bit better there. In any case, it looks like we've got a destroyer that is heading into sea, and I don't want those guys to have to deal with it all by their lonesome, so I am turning around to see if I can't help a little bit. The B cap, I imagine, will be taken by my teammates. You can see we do have a couple of extra destroyers, and they're sailing around buddy, and hopefully that means they will go into B and quickly take that. I'm trying to get my turrets around to the other side. Now, I'm not exactly sure I want to do that. We have a couple extra ships joining the fray here, and thankfully there is a smoke screen right in front of me, so I should be able to enjoy a couple of shots without giving myself away, unless there is a plane that I'm just not... Well, there is one that I can see, but he'd have to be pretty close to actually see me. I'm kind of hoping to be able to use these torpedoes and actually get some pretty respectable damage. Obviously, we're just putting them out there in a big overlapping spread of wide spreads to make them hard to dodge, hopefully. This is a strategy that has occasionally worked. Not necessarily the best idea. But I like to be a little bit unpredictable, particularly at lower levels when you're not exactly sure what anybody's doing. Maybe a little bit more understandable here. Once again, we do have a couple of cruisers. This is really bad news for me. Thankfully, the Yuizano has pretty terrible turret traverse. So as long as we keep in front of him, we should be able to really make it difficult for him to actually get a lot of guns on target. He has a slow reload as well, which also helps. Get a couple of nice hits in there with our torpedoes, and now we've finished him off. And as you can see, the torpedoes do reload pretty quickly. The 33 seconds is 11 seconds worse than what you're going to find probably on your dirt ski, but I mean, it's not exactly bad. Same explanation for why those are working the way they are. I still have HE loaded. Just considering going over to AP, but he can't dodge all of those torpedoes at such short range, considering that they cover so much. Well, I was going to say ground, but I guess they cover a lot of water. So we've managed to finish off our third target. Charleston's not a target I really want to fight. I will do it if absolutely necessary, but I think my teammate is going to be able to handle that. The problem with the Charleston is obviously it is modeled off of a St. Louis, which has guns faced in just about every direction you can. Now, I have unfortunately sailed a little too close to this guy accidentally, and that is a pretty considerable error on my part. You can see immediately there's 3 guns shooting at me. He lands some pretty big hits on me. We're down to 800, 400, 115 health. Well, geez, we're having fun here. We want to make sure we get our vengeance if he does manage to take us out. He doesn't. And at this point, there's just 1 ship on the enemy team, and though we are in a bad position in terms of our base captures, at this point it looks like everybody understands that if we get into these bases, that they will over time become ours. We really only need to convert 1 in order to make this almost a guaranteed win, just based on the points. But it looks like we're probably going to get 2 with 1 constantly being reset. So I probably, at this point, am not exactly spoiling anything to say we're going to go on and actually win this game. And whether or not you think that I'm crazy enough to go and actually try to fight that Arkansas, which, by the way, is one of the better secondary ships in the game, in part because you do have to get pretty close in order to be very effective with these low-level destroyers. But my overall thoughts on Storozhevoi, I mean, if you were in the market to buy a ship, I think this is probably not the most competitive Tier 2 premium ship, if that's even a thing. I mean, if you really like Russian destroyers, then, you know, do whatever your heart desires. But Charleston, for me, still feels like the most competitive of all of the Tier 2 premiums. And the Smith just feels like the most amusingly ridiculous. Storozhevoi, I mean, I'd probably rather play the Dirtski, but maybe that's just me. In any case, if you can get it for free, then free is free. Can't hardly complain about that. There you can see, managed to walk away with 44,000 damage. Pretty good on a Tier 2 game. Probably no surprise that we're going to end up on the top of the list for this particular game. That is going to net us slightly more money than it would if it were just a Tier 2 tech tree ship. In any case, I hope this has been useful for you guys. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I will see you on the next one.